Good evening and welcome back to Dragon of Ice Spire Peak. As a recap of last session, you all crested the hill of the Circle of Thunder and managed to save some citizens while others got incinerated by a boar known as Gorthok. You fought off fear and lightning and anchorites and watched as a very proud and uh, large lizard folk met his end. Underneath the spell or effect of being the avatar of the white head of Tiamat. We met some family that assisted us in one of the most epic battles to ever take place. A clash of two titans. Um, my son saw a rainbow.
Was
Double
it me,
rainbow
Luke? Was it me?
across the sky.
And we concluded with a very dramatic and sad death of Kuri, who was Thorn's father. And picking up where we left off, Kuri is dead. The ice over his scales has melted, and the burnished copper scales that belong to him have returned. His resting face sheds the icy horns that encased his skull like armor. His eyes closed, he seems peaceful. Your families, Lionel, Thorn, and Reginald, have set about assisting the citizens, or what's left of the citizens of Conyberry, the survivors, in trying to make their way to Falcon's Hunting Lodge. But as you all are preparing to make after them and assist in the not quite long journey, but a few hours to say the least, there is another dull rumble and a very sad lament as a deeply wounded Coria makes his way into the clearing. He lets out a roar of grief at the sight of his father, falling to his knees and pounding the earth with his three working arms, the other one hanging limply at his side. Vorel, your mother, Thorn, immediately moves to his side and begins whispering to him. But even as he laments, there seems to be a cool breeze that floats over the hill and parts the clouds above, bringing down cascades of sunshine. If I had been stronger, if I had been faster, smarter, Gory is roaring his laments, punctuating each failure with another slam of his fist into the earth. He deserved better than to die the puppet of the demented. He deserved to live. He hated more than any of us how we have been perceived. He he chokes on whatever words are uh, after that as they all lump together in his throat. He lets out what can only be described as a whimper as his head hangs limply. There is a moment, a pause, for any of you to react if you so choose.
Thorn gets up from where she is by her father and just kind of solemnly goes over to her brother, and I think just like puts her arm around Coria's like face. Like he's huge. Just like puts her arms around his face and just hugs him.
Your mother will follow you, and she will say loud enough for all of you around to hear, "My son, Kuria, we all failed him today. We did all we could, but only he could have borne the weight of this. Only he could have sheltered us with a strength that defied gods to the very end. Did you not see the way he charged the boar, the avatar of Talos? How he never wavered, even as his own tried to cut him down. No, his only thought was to protect." Laurel will lift Kuri's head. I'm sorry, Coria's head, uh, and stare into his eyes. "Kuria, let us not fail your father now. Let us not sully his memory with the thought that he did anything but improve our standing in this world. He did his best. It's our turn to carry the burden." And with that, Voral will embrace the overly large head of Coria, and Coria will kind of cave in on himself. Your families, Lionel and Reginald, approach and sort of form a circle around them, offering praises of uh, Kuri's strength and his dedication to his family. Ultimately, though, you all will have to return to the lodge. Is there anything that any of you would like to do beforehand?
I think before returning to the lodge, I will go up to Coria and use my last spell for the day and cast Cure Wounds on him to try and give the limp arm a jolt to start its healing process sooner rather than later. So it's not because I'm imagining it's still connected, obviously, to him, but it's just dangling there as if it's severely broken. So
His forearm on that arm is
mhm.
broken, the bone pressing against the skin, and it has been dislocated from what would be the shoulder joint in case of forearms.
In that case, I will do my best to use my cure wounds to at least get the bones into their proper place to begin healing better, and to make sure the shoulder joint for it is no longer dislocated. Using more magic than Brong in this case to really do the work.
So, uh, I understand your intent, but just because of the situation, because of the
Mhm.
damage that has been inflicted upon Korea, there's just so much damage. It's
Right.
very obvious that he went toe to toe
With something.
with 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 Kuri.
Mm,
Only Kuri could have ripped out somebody else's of same stature's arm like this,
mhm,
of done this much damage to him. There are gashes, claw marks. There is ice. There is, from what little you've dealt with scaled beings, you recognize bruises when you see them, especially up from torn up scales. Uh, you don't know how Korea is moving, let alone surviving enough to grieve in this moment.
mhm.
Uh, but for your action to cast a spell to heal, I'm not going to make you roll for
Right.
how much you're healing, but I would like you to roll me a 1d4, and then however many you get, roll that many d20s.
Okay.
So please roll me 2d20.
11 and an 18.
So his major wounds, um, the most life-threatening, we'll call them, is that broken bone, because you've seen marrow slip into people's bones or bloodstream and stop hearts before, and you can't imagine that it would be too much different for lizard folk. However, you don't want to really risk it, so you devote a lot of healing energy into uh, mending that broken bone. And it sets in place, and after a moment, you're satisfied with the way it looks. But the next one is the gashes over his chest that have literally rent scales off of his body. Scales that are like breastplate are missing from him. And you realize as you go about your mending that they're 6 inches, 7 inches deep. The bone underneath has either been scarred or completely removed, and you begin to heal that, but with an 11, it's there's just so much. It's You can't do it all. You exhaust yourself as you try. uh, there's still so much left to heal by the time your energy runs out. But Korea, now dubbed Kuria, uh, appreciates your effort, and he covers his chest with one hand so that way the wounds are not as visible to those around. And he pushes you away, saying, "You do not know what those people have suffered. Save whatever you have left for them."
Considering you are up here and barely standing, that was all I had left for the day. I don't have much else, and I'm not really good with flesh and bone without it. We will do what we can when we get back to Falcons, but this was more urgent.
As if challenging your words, the barely standing portion, he stands up and shows no sign of fatigue. Roll me an insight check.
Can Thorn roll one as well?
Sure. Lionel, you take it at face value. He looks like he's okay. Thorn, you know your brother. You know when he's hurt, and he's hurt. And walking is trying. There is damage to him, and it sinks deeper than the flesh and blood that is his body. There's something, well, to say it's grief would do it a disservice. It's so much more than that for Kuria. He's standing, but you don't think he should be.
I think that Thorn registers that and will look at her brother, and there is, I guess I don't know if Reginald would see it. I think he's still kind of off with his parents, but Lionel would definitely clock that Thorn's entire demeanor and posture changes. And she looks at her brother and just, with a very commanding voice, says, "You will stay, and you will sit, and you will rest."
But he looks fine. I've taken care of most of the bigger injuries.
Thorn does
You have to
Thorn turn to
understand,
look at
Lionel is caught between two different things here, so he's very confused. He understands that you have said something that it has meaning, but he doesn't understand why.
Thorn does not look at Lionel, but she addresses him and is just staring Coria down. He will sit, he will stay, and he will rest.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Wow, terrible rolls.
He looks down at you. He takes one knee, and he says to you, as he bows his head, putting one fist down on the ground in a very... He's kneeling at you, kneeling to you, and he says, "Speaker, if you let me rest now, I might not get back up. Let me at least escort you to safety." And he stands, and he doesn't await your reply. He turns, and he goes down to walk with the group.
I think Thorn kind of like hisses between her teeth, and just before he like gets out of arm's reach, she's going to just reach forward and she's going to cast Cure Wounds on him too, whether he wants it or not. So, boo on him.
Okay. I will mark it off. Mark the spell off, but do not roll for it.
Never mind, I rolled for it anyway. But there you go.
Yeah, don't do that.
And it's just a shimmer of blue magic with like just the barest tinge of purple in there. Just goes through her and into Coria. I think she'll call out after him too. Thorn is going to say the rights. If you want to stay, then stay. If you want to go, then go.
He stops, and he nods. "I will stay for the rites." Lionel and Reginald, your respective family members encourage you all to move on with the group, with them.
Yeah.
To leave the Komotes to deal with the Komotes.
Yep. I was planning to. I got 2 younger siblings I have to watch now. I've done all I can.
I
They're
have
already a
books.
handful. Books. They're much easier to deal with.
If you would like to describe what you're going to do, you can, or you can keep it between us. I'll leave the choice up to you.
I think that the group would hear bits of it. Thorn clearly doesn't have all of her materials here for a Komote rite. Like, she doesn't carry that kind of thing while she travels, but she does gather a little bit of, like, bits of bark and, like, sets them on fire, and it's very reminiscent of, like, a censer or, like, incense. And I think that the bits that they hear are, like, the very beginnings of a somewhat shamanistic style rite. The specific part they would hear is Thorn just kind of like saying over her father, "From soil trodden to soil returned. Nourish the roots that feed the beast your progeny stalk. Your family is vast and your numbers strong, as Semilania decrees. Your speaker declares you rest now, Kuri of the Komote. You have done your duty and more." And the rest is just kind of like trails off. I think she lowers her voice a little bit more, and it's more of a private sending off to her father. And she will stay. She will stay behind and take care of that.
Your mother and father mother and brother will stay with you, laying the body to rest. I'll DM you or talk to you off mic about some of the particulars of that. But cutting to the group, the trip back to the lodge is fairly quiet. The people of Connieberry, or what's left of them, our survivors, quietly mourn the lost as they travel, and the weight of what happened weighs on every shoulder. So many were lost. Of the 30 plus that you briefly counted in the center of that hilltop, you managed to save 14, which is a healthy number, realistically. Could have been much worse. Tina and Ostrom are doing their best to carry the more wounded, to assist in every bit of the capacity that they are designed to. Reginald the Second and his beautiful wife lead the charge, clearing the way, making sure that there is nothing coming for the group, large as it is. And ultimately, your Komote friend, Thorn, and family will catch up. There is smoke coming from the hilltop where a pyre is burning. But as you all travel, there is a deafening roar so close overhead, and the sheen of white swoops down out of the sky, landing on the hilltop There's just a roar, intimidating and overpowering as always, as that dragon lifts up what's left of that boar. You all can see it fly away. And so you all continue your journey. Surprisingly, the people of, the survivors, they don't seem intimidated by the dragon after what they just saw, after what they just went through. All eyes face towards the hilltop as that brief moment happens, but for the most part, they just carry on. They've already lost so much. The dragon can't take anything else from them. Thorn, Lionel, Reginald, as you all walk amongst the group, there seems to be somebody walking with you at the edge of your vision. But every time you go to look, you can't figure out who or what it was. Very obviously to you, lizard folk of some kind, but not in a color any of you recognize. But a sort of calmness settles over the group as tears for the departed cease flowing, and a determination to survive and to continue on takes hold. Even as you near what would be Falcon's hunting lodge, there is a mist that creeps over it. Faint in the setting sun, the mist is extremely cold, reminiscent of being in the presence of Cryovane. And as you exit the edge of the forest and come to view the lodge proper, you see that it has been near totally encased in ice. Not encased, but coated. The ground around and in, and the wooden logs themselves that make up most of the lodge have been frozen together. And outside of the lodge, the gate that you all are facing is a single kobold, burgundy in color, with deep blue eyes, wielding a makeshift spear. Realistically, it is some sort of wooden rod with a butcher's knife tied to the end of it. It is also wielding a makeshift shield that is mostly just wood. As it sees you all, you can tell it immediately recognizes you. It makes a call over the gate, and the gates are thrown open for you. Falcon takes the lead, going to check on his home. You can see or hear rather, a cry of disbelief escape him as he enters what is his home. The main building and the barracks unit, the guest house, are largely intact. However, the southern portion of the facility that contained the smithy and most of the animal pens has all been reduced to rubble. Parts of it coated in ice, gouge marks all over the wood. Of the 10 original kobolds that took residence here. 6 remain, and they are in various states trying to assist in the repair of the facilities. Corwin and Pell, if you don't remember, Corwin was the world-weary cook for Falcon, and Pell was the mute young child, young boy, 12 years old maybe, that acted as a stable hand for him. They all work together to try to fix and re-raise the part of the smithy that was the stables. Most of the livestock lies slaughtered or missing, save for a few chickens and a single pig. But as you all enter, what probably catches everyone's eye the most is the lone kobold that sits cradling the remains of a broken egg in the center of the courtyard. Falcon immediately sets about trying to enter his home, as it has been sealed shut with ice. He cracks his way in and immediately sets about trying to get as many linens and clothing items and bandages as he can to set everybody up that you all brought back with you in the guest house. He cares not for his home or the damages that it has sustained. He only wants to see the people that have survived back in a healthy state. Reginald, your mother and father immediately start assisting in that endeavor, tending to the wounded as best they can. Lionel, your brother and sister, immediately take up a patrol around the outside of the facility to keep a lookout for any incoming threats, leaving the 3 of you to decide what to do next.
Well, sheesh. I mean, I feel like Reginald, at least in his mind, the most logical first thing to do is kind of just to like rest it off. Like he's basically just like, yeah, we had this big battle. It was pretty cool. There's a lot of losses. It was kind of, feels bad, man. We just made this long walk home. Some more shit went down here, but it looks like maybe it's all good. Maybe ? Would love that rest. That's basically where his head's at.
I think Lionel is going to go and see about the area that Falcon had the small forge in and try to get going, not so much to work with it, but to get it to maybe reconfigure it as best as he can with the limited tools and time that he might have to be more of some place where people can keep warm.
So that was part of the southern part of the facility.
Right.
So that has been reduced to rubble,
Okay.
along with the stable that it has been attached or was attached to. The stable itself is trying, the kobolds and Corwin and Pell are trying to re-raise to give more room for everyone that's here.
I think Lionel will go to assist them with it since he can do metalwork, and that is best as to what he can do right now because he needs something to keep his hands busy. But as he is going to say loud enough for the other 2 to hear him, I'm going to turn that dragon into anal beads for the ugliest ogre it has ever seen.
Hold on.
Sentence.
Hold on, I need to write that down.
Clip it.
I wish I knew how.
I can clip it afterwards.
She can make a clip of it.
Fucking please.
Thorn, I think, on the entire trip back has just been very quiet, but it's like angry quiet. It's like there's a storm coming, and she hears Lionel say that, and I think there's just a very quick, like hiss of agreement. No words, just noise, just like pure bestial noise, and she stalks off and approaches Vera and doesn't say anything, just like puts her ears really low and kind of circles around Vera in a way that she's like hugging Vera but with her like the side of her body. And it's just kind of like lays her head near Vera and just says, Thorn is sorry. We both lost family today. And we'll just stay with Vera for a while.
Vera doesn't say anything to you. She seems despondent at the moment. Well, Kuria assists you, Lionel, in raising a roof for the survivors to reside under that can't fit inside of the guest house. Vorel has set out to hunt and returns probably about an hour or two later with game enough for the several of you to eat. But as you all are eating, the dining room has been converted into extra bedrooms for the time being, so everybody's kind of eating outside around a cook fire that Falcon has set up at this point. And Falcon is conversing with that burgundy colored kobold that you all saw guarding the gate, asking him exactly what happened. For those of you nearby, it's plain for you to hear, but the kobold goes into detail. We were living life just as we always do, but the Dargan came down and decided to eat 4 of us. He froze some and ate them, and then he squashed one, and then he ate them, and then he killed the cow, and then he killed one of the pigs, and he tried to eat some chickens, and then Urk stabbed him in the snows, so he flew off.
Sorry,
And-
snows got me.
And Falcon's like nodding, and he says, "So you just punched it in the nose and it flew off?" "No, Urk stabbed it in the nose and it flew off." "Do you want to see what happens when you get stabbed in the nose?" Well, I guess thank you for defending my home. My home too. Overgrown 2 legs. It's not your... Look, you can't stay here forever. Urk looks up at him and says, "Fine. Have fun fending off the dragon next time by yourself." And he flips off, and Urk seems like a very angry little kobold. But he walks off and goes off doing his own thing. Falcon just puts his head in his hands like, I can't believe this happened. This place was supposed to be safe.
I don't think any place is going to be safe until we kill that thing.
I can think of a few places, but I also think that you're right.
But why here? Is it just being petty at this point?
I wish I knew. It's a dragon. I don't think like a dragon.
It's honestly probably a good thing Urk stabbed it in the nose. The thing is that not too kind of experience when dealing with that part of its body.
Falcon nods. You can tell that he wants to smile, but just from the recent events, like he's like,
Yeah.
it's too soon. uh, Reginald, your father approaches you. Well, my son, despite a impressive victory, it seems that your work's still not done. So what do you plan to do next?
Well, I suppose the first order would be to track its movement and, well, to protect the region from similar fates as this. This is seemingly less impactful than many that I would anticipate would occur. Well, we would most likely be dispatching of the dragon. I don't believe it would willingly be caught in any way, shape, or form, so I don't see any other methods available to me at the moment where we could secure it.
Well, let's think about what we know about white dragons, shall we? In this moment, you kind of feel like you're being taken back to when your father would teach you back at the Fortno schoolhouse, those private lessons with him. You're kind of sitting down on a log, and he's pacing back and forth in front of you, and he's almost drilling you about what you know. So, they're white, obviously, and they breathe ice, which implies that they would prefer a colder climb. Whereabouts here has a colder climb?
Well, the mountains, of course.
Yes, but every time we think about the mountains, the sword mountains are a vast range, so it would have to be somewhere close by. Roll me an intelligence check.
Intelligence check.
Nice.
Brain power.
Yeah. So as you're kind of thinking there, you see the dragon pretty regularly, at least once a week, twice a week. So it can't be flying too far up the mountain range. It has to be pretty localized to near Fandalin and near this Sword Coast region, right? Because even with flight, going such vast distances like that still takes time. So you're pretty sure that it's got to be somewhere close to Fandalin. Now give me 1 second because I have to pull up the map again. La di da di da, la di da di da. What's the name of that song? So you're pretty adept at recalling images. So uh, we'll say that in your mind's eye, a map of the Sword Coast unrolls before you. You know that the Sword Mountain Range goes well beyond into the east, but stops just north of the Mere of Dead Men. You know that the dragon has to be pretty close to Fandalin, but not too close as to be heard every time it roars. So we're gonna give it a few miles, right? You also know that some of uh, these mountains over here, they're too short. Their peaks aren't covered in snow, which leaves you to the peak that is, right? Of the Sword Mountains around, this one, known as Ice Spire Peak, uh, is the one that is covered in the most snow. It also additionally has a fortress there, which you thinking on it would make a perfect lair for a dragon.
Well, there. Given the climb and the region, I think the only logical place I would expect the dragon to roost would be probably the Ice Spire Peak Fortress. More than likely.
Yes, and wasn't that recently discovered to be housing several orcs? Your mother uh, appears as if out of nowhere and agrees with your father, saying, yes, the fortress was actually lost to the death of supply chains, as it were, and some orcs took up residence. However, there was a group of mercenaries. I'm trying to remember what they were called that went up there recently. We haven't heard back from them, though. It may be worth checking out at the very least, although that would be quite the endeavor. Your father nods in agreement. And we'd be walking right into the dragon's den. Not the best place to be fighting it, but with current history as it is, it seems that every time this dragon has taken a little bit more damage, it has flown off. Cut to the nose, a lost scale from the face. It might be best to just track it there.
Yes, attempting to catch it outright in the field is proven to be, well, much very difficult. Going direct obviously gives it no quarter to retreat, and thus, well, we hope for the best outcome.
Well, the only outcome I see is a fireball to the face, but I'll see you deliver that. Your father says with such confidence in you, it makes you radiate. Your cape billows on its own. Well, if I may make a suggestion and an offer, then uh, we know of a pseudo safe haven that will have to be cleared out for the village of Fandalin, known as Axholm. Uh, your mother, Vorel, and I will see to Axholm and take the citizens of Fandalin there. Uh, if you wish to continue pursuing the dragon to Icespire Peak. Alternatively, we can all go to Axholm together, deal with that threat swiftly, and you can continue on your way from there. I do believe it best, though, that if our parties split up, so that way the citizens of Fandalin and what's left of survivors of Conyberry have some form of protection should one or the other fail.
Well, I don't pretend to speak for the group in this particular instance, but well, I feel like doing both at the same time is our likely best approach. If we wait too long and secure Axholm outright, it leaves opportunity for the dragon to do what dragons do. And, well, clearly we can't leave the villagers and the refugees to their own fate and go after the dragon directly, as it leaves them open for quite a bit of loss.
Seemingly out of the blue, a burgundy-colored blur inserts itself into your conversation. Ark, come kill dragon with you.
Urk was it? Yes. You were the one that stabbed it in the nose, were you not?
Ark gonna kill it this time.
Well, yes. I hope your passion for its death continues to empower you all the way to Icespire.
Urk coming. Urk
Well,
gonna give it to you.
I will certainly not say no to Urk joining us on this endeavor. But the giving unto me is, well, not to be done,
Then
unfortunately.
you gotta stop. Then you gotta whoa. Then you gotta go or go.
Urk stamps his little kobold feet. I stay awake until you go. I'm following. And he peels off away from the conversation, and then just you have eyes on you for the rest of the night.
Wow, this seems really familiar.
Passionate little fellow, ain't he?
Yes. Well, good luck with Urk. He's been one of the more feisty ones to deal with. Although with 4 of them dead and only 6 of them left, he'll be sorely missed from their group, I'm sure. But confer with your group this evening, and on the morrow we'll make a plan and go our separate ways. Sound fair?
Yes, Father. I do believe that is a wise choice of paths to take.
Call me Dad again. Ah.
Dad.
Well, the evening is yours to do with as you wish, to role play as you see fit. I'm going to give you all a few minutes while I mentally prepare for the next narration and take a potty break.
Okay. Are you guys in the same general vicinity, or are you kind of all about?
I might have to sneeze. Hang on.
Okay.
Nope. No
Sorry.
sneeze.
No sneeze.
That was
and I hate
great.
it.
It was like,
Yeah, no. I thought I was going to, but not. No, Lionel is probably once dinner starts, he probably makes sure to get his 2 younger siblings, and then is mostly with them throughout dinner. So you'll have to find him, but he is going to talk with his siblings at least for a little bit because he needs to find out why the fuck they're here, how the fuck they got here, who the fuck brought them here, and if I need to kill a bitch.
Okay.
Don't talk to me like that.
Likewise, Thorn has not left Vera, so I think that Reginald would know where Thorn is because they are clearly like in the middle of this fucking courtyard. She has not left Vera's side, so you know where she is if you need her.
Very well. Well, I think Reginald will, essentially float around outside of the goblet in hand and kind of roll up to Lionel first. He's there, with his siblings and kind of mentions so. Pardon me, Lionel, but we need to discuss the potential next steps if you have a moment.
Right now, or could it wait till later in the evening?
I mean, it may be able to wait. However, I feel we may want to have our plans in order so that we can ensure we have proper time to prepare.
Your brother, Ostrin, looks at you, Lionel, and says, "Go. We'll be here. Don't worry."
I'm going to hold you to that as I just kind of look at him, and I'll go with Reginald.
Tina casts invisibility on them.
I swear to God, I will not make the custom-made book that you want for your spells, little lady.
Just hear chuckles.
You have to admit, it is a good trick.
Yes, it is, and she's too damn smart and charismatic for her own good sometimes!
Well,
Reginald, you can't hear him.
Well, I don't know what you said, but I definitely saw your lips moving.
Do I hear him?
Oh, yeah.
Tina.
Another giggle. Everything's back to normal. Continue.
Well, so as I was thinking and planning a bit here with my father, we came to the decision that it probably makes best if we send the refugees and villagers to a secure location, or rather a more defensible one within the region. And such place was designated to be the fortress of Axholm, which at current, well, it may have some inhabitants, but we can have them removed, of course, forcibly, as I'm sure they will not go peacefully. And in line with that, we face a dilemma of sorts, because, we could go all in force and simply clear the place out quickly and efficiently. However, in that time that we've spent, Dragon may wander about and decide that there's another town or village it wishes to feast upon. Well, that could be a time that we may be bringing the battle to it. So, we have the plan of dividing our forces to send to Axholm and to assault the dragon where it roosts, most likely in the Sword Mountains. The Icespire Peak fortress is the most likely place in the region. Or we could all head to Axholm and ensure its safety post-haste, and risk potential other losses within the region at the hands of the dragon.
I don't want to give this dragon more time than what it needs, and I do agree that we need to make sure that the town of Fendalen and all the villagers and all the people that we care about, and Lionel kind of looks back to his younger siblings, are safer as we can best distract the dragon while they try and fortify themselves as best as they can. But there's something nagging at me slightly. We had someone talk to us about a place called Dragon Barrow, did we not, at some point? And that was connected to dragons in some way?
The Dragon Barrow, you remember, recalling from your trip to the Ashby Manor, was a place that was said to house a dragon killing weapon.
And I'm not sure how much we should trust Ashby's information, but the Dragon Barrow supposedly held a dragon killing weapon. Do we want to try and make a detour there on the way to Icespire Peak to see if we can find whatever this is to aid us? Because as much as I want to believe that we can just kill this thing outright on our own, it has proven to have aspects that a dragon its age, to my very limited knowledge of them, should not have. And what I fear is that given we found a unholy or a unholy symbol or relic of Tiamat on a warlock of some type just mere hours ago, I'm afraid this thing maybe maybe in some way the offspring of Tiamat, or maybe one of its heads. If it is, it does not bode well for us unless we have something that could harm it more so than normal. And I don't think we have the time to build something like that.
Can both of you roll me an intelligence check? Nice. So with those rolls, DC was a 15. You're both, as you're talking, you guys are thinking about the local areas, right? Where the dragon could go if you guys manage to get everybody from into Fandalen and then into Axholm. What's left for the dragon to attack? What more could the dragon do? Where could the dragon go? Right? You know that there's another mine nearby Fandalen called the Gold Toe Mine. You know that Connieberry, Butterskull Ranch, even Falcon's Hunting Lodge they're all probably about to be abandoned for the safety of wherever you all deem the next safe place to be. Beyond that, you all have the Dwarven excavation site, which houses an untold number of lizard folk at this point in time, right? Prime target for a dragon, possibly, if it can get in there. But there's a whole shrine in there that you all yourselves cleared out, probably pretty secure from the dragon. So, realistically speaking, you all think that you have time. If the dragon's not going to go anywhere, if it's just going to keep flying, the only targets it has are you as you move. If you get everybody into Axholm.
I mean, the thing clearly has it out for me in particular. We all know this. If we can get everyone safely somewhere, then we can have time to go and trek Dragon Barrow and see if such a weapon exists before we get to Icespire Peak. So, as much as it might behoove us to maybe try and split our forces, it seems more and more likely that we should make some place that is safe for these people and then use the dragon's raging hard on to try and kill me to our advantage.
Man, you're really about the innuendos today, aren't you?
This thing has pissed me the fuck off. It tried to kill my younger siblings. As I said, it's going through hell when I get to it.
Well, I suppose we ought to incorporate some additional opinion on this. Thorn, might we pull you away for a moment here for a quick discussion, hopefully?
Thorn Thorn is kind of like settled next to Vera, and she's just like got Vera's hands in her hands, and she's quietly trying to talk to her, and she like hears the two of you approach, and hears Reginald say that, and just like flattens her ears. What about
The dragon, for one. For two, the proper methods we should employ for ensuring the safety of the refugees and village people, both lizard folk and other folk, within the greater Sword Coast region here?
I think that Thorn doesn't turn her attention away from Vera and just kind of like angrily says, Thorn doesn't care the method. Just get Thorn to Dragon. We keep people safe. There's safety in numbers. But get Thorn to Dragon.
Well, all right then. We will see to that then, I suppose. Yes. So, thank you. And Lionel, as we were noting, I believe you probably are correct that it makes sense and has good value for us to simply eradicate the resistance of Axholm, then quickly make a stopover to investigate this potential claim of fated weaponry, let's call it, against Dragonkin, before we make our approach and ultimate attack upon the dragon's fortress in the mountains.
I think it's probably the best plan we have. We know the thing. The last time that I punched it, it didn't make too much of a ruckus after that, at least for a couple of days. And now the fact that why does it feel like I have eyes on me? That's really weird.
Yes, but Urk is most likely watching us now. He did not wish to let me out of his sight prior to this evening, so that he would be ensured that he joins us.
Oh. Weird.
I think that makes Thorn turn. Just barely. She just like tilts her head a little bit. You're replacing Thorn?
No.
No.
She narrows her eyes.
Stupid lizard folk.
Yes, I think with Urk reminding it of that particular sour note, he might have unintentionally bought us more time than maybe people think, especially considering this dragons. Correct me if I'm wrong, but dragons do tend to have far too much pride in themselves about certain things. And the fact that Urk, of all people, was probably able to stab it again in the same spot, it's probably not too thrilled by that. So I think really the best way to go, I think that is our best shot. Go to Axholm, then go back to Dragonbarrow, and then take the dragon. And if we need to, we can also confer with your father and mother, since they seem to be historians and scholars in the area, about Dragonbarrow itself,
Well,
and maybe
yes.
they know more.
They may. Another point I thought of as well while we were discussing this, perhaps would it not make sense to maybe bait or entrap the dragon by the barrow to unleash upon it this weapon and then chase it back to its home should it run?
We could. It depends on how open the burrow is itself, because if it's open, that's not going to do much to dissuade the dragon from just spitting ice at us and then running away. If it's more confined, we might be able to put it in there, but it's a good plan if we can bait it, because then we can potentially wound it and make it easier to finish it off when it goes back to its cave to lick its wounds.
As you say all of that, um, Vera's ears perk up. Tracking? Vera knows how to track. Vera made a thing. And Vera stands up, and she's extremely wobbly. But she throws her pack down to the ground and pulls open the top. And she pulls out a bundle of arrows. And they are each tipped with a glowing yellow substance. Vera made tracking arrows. They'll help. Just follow the yellow.
I'll take a look at them. Are they literally what I think they are in terms of their arrows with like tiny souls on them that if they come in contact with something they would hit and then break the capsule and essentially leave a trail behind?
These are bleeding arrows.
Okay.
They are enchanted with a neon infinite source of whatever this glowing goop is. So whatever you hit, as long as the arrow stays, and they're designed to stay,
Yeah.
uh,
hard.
will continue to ooze, as well as, hopefully draw blood.
I'll look at them and I'll kind of mutter, and I'll just kind of look up at her. Quite ingenious, really. Good job. How good of a shot is Urk?
I saw Urk hit a fly from across the yard with a rock.
Well, I'd count that as pretty good then, yes. Well, we will get these into his hands, and, yeah, that will be the best approach, I think. Maybe we will bait the dragon out, assault it, tag it, chase it home, and bring justice upon it.
I just want to iterate this point because there are, several different venues to get what you're trying to do accomplished.
Mm-hmm.
You both have enchanters in your families. Your father, Reginald, you watched work with your mother to enchant an arrow to literally cage the avatar of Talos. Lionel, while you may not know her abilities, you know that Tina is a spellcaster and has worked maybe more than you understand with magic after her little display of silencing you and making her and her brother invisible. So,
Little brat.
all without saying anything.
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there if you all, because that is something that I think that both Lionel and Reginald would think about in this moment of what are we actually trying to do to track a dragon.
You guys also have an entire clan of lizard folk that know how to track things, especially beasts. So
Yeah. The thing with that is we're trying to keep them out of danger. We don't want to put more into danger than we need to.
Well, that and I assumedly know that where the dragon likely is basing out of. But maybe the play is we arm up and try to draw it out and, jabate it and the open ground. And then try to either entrap it or wound it such that it runs home or is killed outright. And then we don't have to chase it anywhere.
It's true. Might not run away.
Yeah, it might not. But we don't know. Well, at least we have a plan. Let me talk with Tina about some stuff. I am good with building things, and her magic prowess has developed much more than what I remember it being from when I was back home when I last saw her. So maybe she and I can at least come up with something to maybe slow it down, also to make running away harder for it. In the limited time that we have before we head to Axholm.
True, very true, yes. I would also think and consider what about. I discounted it before, but what about the capacity of potentially trapping the beast at the barrow itself? Constructing some device or method or something otherwise to entangle it and simply pin it
We
would
could,
take much of its force away from it against us, I would think.
if we do that, we would likely need the help of your father and mother in the endeavor. And I don't know how much time we have, but I think them, myself, and Tina all working on it, we could at least get something together relatively quickly. And then head to Axholm, clear it out, and then bait the dragon to Dragon Barrow while we are looking for this holy, maybe there, maybe not there, relic of dragon killing kind of what have you. And that honestly is probably our best option. Because it's on the terms that we want to fight the dragon, not the other way around.
True, very true. Yes, I think our game plan, at least initially, will be to Axholm, then en masse, make it quick, make it easy, and then we move to the barrow, secure whatever weapon or knowledge is available for the destruction of a dragon, and then lay a trap and ensnare it.
Agreed. Let me go talk to my younger sister and try to keep her twin from wanting to join us overly recklessly.
Yes, very well. I will go locate my mother, as I will likely need a bit of her talent.
Very well. So you two part ways to go speak with your families once again. Before we dive into that, I want to cut back over to Thorn as you're sitting with Vera, and she has finally stirred to assist you all. She kind of sits back down after plopping the arrows out of her bag. She's no longer holding the shells of the egg, and she's no longer wearing her sack. She just left it where it was. And she still doesn't really acknowledge you. You know, she kind of just sitting there. She mumbles something about failing you, about failing her people, about failing her husband, her life mate, she calls it. All because of the stupid dragon and the fear she feels and the inaction it causes her. And as she's talking, mumbling to herself, Vorel comes to you. She doesn't say anything, but she wraps you both in her extremely long tail and sits cross-legged, forming a pseudo triangle with the two of you. And she briefly talks to you both about grief. It is overwhelming, and it will always be overwhelming until we decide to grow from it. I lost my husband today. You lost your little one. Thorn, you lost your father. Today is a day of loss. Let us grieve fiercely for the ones that we lost. But let us not give in to despair or fear. And she leans in, and she'll take your hand, Thorn, and Vera's hand. Being together is what made the Camote strong. Being together is what separated the Camote from the other folk. Being together is what brought us into this world that Kuri wished us to be a part of. And I'm going to keep fighting for that, even if that means I die at the hands of a dragon. And I expect you all to do the same. Grieve fiercely and use that fierceness as a weapon against your enemies. And know that the Camotes are always at your back. And she pulls both of you in a pseudo headbutt triangle thing. She says a small prayer to Semwanya. Not something your mother usually does. Before standing up and pulling from her pack the knife, Kuri's knife, and presenting it to Thorn. Kuri would have wanted you to keep this, to use it should you see fit, or to gift it to someone who you deem fit to wield it. He made this from the bones of a dragon. One of his more formidable kills. And I find it only fitting that should you go to face the dragon, that you plunge it into its heart as well. And the venom that comes out of her for that last phrase is near palpable. And it sort of seeps into you a little bit and makes your adrenaline pump as she offers you the blade that you pierced Kuri's heart with.
Thorn takes it and kind of considers it for a moment and lets out a long breath, just like through her nostrils. Thorn is going to eat the dragon.
Period.
That's it, period. She says it with venom and conviction, and maybe a little bit of like. I think that Vorel would get a little bit of like amusement from it, just because like this is a very Thorn thing to say, in a very heavy moment.
There's a guttural chuckle in your mother's throat. That you will, my daughter. And you, she looks down at Vera. And she shakes her head. And for a moment, you think that she's going to be condescending towards Vera. Like, you know your mother does not respect those who envelop themselves in fear, who are crippled by it. And you can tell that maybe Vorel's fighting that herself as she opens her mouth once, twice, 3 times, and says, "If you are going to be afraid, then use that fear to do something instead of being prey for your enemies. Be a Kumote or die." And she takes out one of her own knives, and she has several. She drops it in front of Vera, and it lands, blade into the dirt. And Vera stares at it and then looks up at Voral with almost a glassy, hollow look. And for a moment, she just sits there. And Voral, tired of waiting and unsure of how to proceed with conversation, or maybe just lacking any advice to give to this hollowed out kobold, turns on her heel and says over her shoulder as she's walking away, "Make a choice. That's the first step." And disappears into the night.
He is so annoying. Don't laugh at him. Do not encourage him with that energy. Shut up.
Meow. He's fucking up the bathroom carpet.
He is. I think Thorn watches him let it go. And then turns and looks to Vera. Shut up! Let me talk! Go to bed. Go somewhere else with yourself. Turns, I swear to God, he's looking at me. If you meow again, I'm getting up. Turns and looks at Vera and just says, oh my God, I don't know if you guys heard that, but he just did the saddest. I'm fucking done. He left. All right. Turns and looks at Vera with just like the with like a little bit of a sad look. Vera did not fail Thorn. Not then, not now. Thorn will fight, and Thorn wants Vera to fight too.
Vera reaches forth and grasps the dagger. She doesn't say anything to you. Maybe the most almost totally imperceptible little nod you get from her as she just clutches the dagger close to her chest.
Thorn gives her a little bit of a gentle headbutt, and will go off to find something she can do.
Well, we're gonna pan over to Lionel.
Dun, dun, dun.
Lionel, you have found Tina and Austrian, your younger siblings. They are both conversing over the evening's events.
I sit down across from them and just listen for a few seconds to understand exactly what the conversation is, if they continue on while I'm there.
Engrossed in their meals and in their conversation, they're huddled closely together in much the same way you remember them doing before, but now it's a little bit darker, maybe. The aesthetic of their relationship having gone from carefree sibling to I rely and depend on you on the daily to make it through our daily ordeals. There is a very palpable sense of relying and reliance on one to the other that is extremely mutual. It's almost as if they have become one person. But what they are discussing, you catch bits and pieces of, is Lady Bennet's and Sir Falshelburn's orders and how they have failed them. But they're
Immediately triggered.
really not sure if they failed because they were put up against overwhelming odds. There are still survivors technically, but we were supposed to guard the township. Yes, but I mean, what were we supposed to do? We got what we could out, and yes, we were captured too. But in the end, here we are. We saved some. And they're going to be mad. Yes, well, when aren't they?
A little hint for you both as I interrupt them. First of all, he is not Lord Falshelburn. He is an asshole and a prick. You can simply call him Dominic. And secondly, you did not fail people by rescuing some and not others. That is the luck of the world, unfortunately, and some people's luck is worse than others, and you can't change that. What you can change is to make sure that those who are alive continue to have the best luck that they can. Trust me when I tell you this, I am well aware of what bad luck looks like in the world. You two did nothing wrong, and you did the best that you could. Both Mom and Father would be proud, along with our older sisters.
But are you?
I am proud that my two youngest siblings fought against insurmountable odds and lived where my luck surely would not have pulled through. I am annoyed at them for putting themselves in danger and my not understanding why they did so. So please explain how the hell you two got here and why from the beginning. Please.
They both kind of sit upright and they look at each other. Tina smiles a little bit mischievously. Austrian rolls his eyes and says, "Very well then." And Tina goes on to explain how when you left, a few years ago at this point, they were forced to watch bad luck take its toll. The family wasn't okay after you left. The family hurt. And being the youngest, they really felt it. And they wanted to make a difference. And Austrian was always talking about joining the guard or becoming a soldier. But then a Fortno knight came and offered him a job. And I mean, it was his dream, and my dream was always, well, and she waves her hand and sparks fly. But I wasn't going to let him go alone. So I joined Fortno too and studied at the academy and did everything in my power to stay at his side. Ultimately, though, we heard that you made your way south, and in an attempt to maybe get a chance to see you again, we took up a position with Lady Ashby. And here we are. It was good to see you back at the manor, although I don't think you saw us.
You two were at... You were the two watching me while I worked.
They
You
both
both
smile.
You both know I get caught up in my work. You should have said something.
Well, things are a little bit more complicated than that now.
Explain.
They both simultaneously, with their right hands, tap their left shoulders, and you see a purple mark spring into existence and then fade away.
I think my armor claws its way all the way up to me and still leaves my face open, but it very much forms claws on the ends of my hands, and I do not look happy.
Lady Ashby serves Lord Dominic, and while you say we can call him Dominic, he says we cannot. And it's by his rules that we play. For through our service and oaths to Lady Ashby, we serve him.
Going to make sure to add that man to my list of people I got when this is done.
Lord Dominic Falsterburn has been nothing but good to us. He may set us sometimes seemingly impossible tasks, but he gave us power and strength to take care of not only ourselves, but those around us and our family.
But at what cost, you two? Did you ever think about that?
They both smile. Either servitude to a king who knows nothing but war, or servitude to a man who only wants to make the world a better place. Service is service, and that is what we pay.
You're both too young for this. I swear to gods. Well, that says a lot and explains more than I wanted it to. I imagine that Dominic learned of you two anyway, and you two were going to be cards to him whether you had a say in it or not.
Tina, roll me an insight check.
Do I have advantage because this is my younger sister?
You haven't been around your younger sister in a few years, so no.
Okay. It's not bad for me. 12.
I think you don't know what shifts in Tina, but there's something. And you know it has something to do with your bargain. You don't know what, though. She just shifts. Maybe it's an old tell of hers that you catch, that she wants to say something but chooses not to.
Listen, you two. I'm not going to try and force something out of you that you don't want to tell, or can rightfully tell for that matter. I have dealt with this man more than you both have, and to put it bluntly, he is the reason that I had to leave. Is all the bad luck that you two had to endure these last couple of years. Most of it stemmed from me and my foolish choices to try and make a better chance, to try and help. I don't even know what I was doing anymore. To try and take on responsibilities that I honestly had no right at the time taking on. And the man got me in a moment of weakness. And I played into it. And now, unfortunately, he has gotten both of you. All because I wanted to ease the burden on Kalina after her hunting accident. And I'm close. I'm very close. But I see that it's caught you two up in my folly as well.
Roll me a perception check.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Hey, I'm rolling better. Hooray!
You notice as you're speaking, the flames in front of you have stopped moving.
What do you want, Dominic?
Is that any way to greet an old friend?
No, it's a way to greet someone who has me on a leash.
Oh, come now. I've never put you on a leash. You've always had to make these choices of your own volition.
What do you want to tell me that is so important to interrupt my time with my siblings?
Well, it's like you said, they're part of the game now. And being that I didn't know of their existence until you decided to bring it up, let's talk about it, shall we?
I narrow my eyes at him. They will not be a part of my game with you. For if you
Oh,
bring them into this, I will not build whatever you need me to build for you.
uh, let's make something excruciatingly clear, Lionel Aranay. I do not need you. You need me. And he sits down across from you in between Ostrid and Tina and puts a hand on either of their shoulders. And they start breathing again. But their eyes are now glowing purple. What are 14 lives worth to you, Aranay?
What are you getting at? I need to make a choice now?
Was simply a question. How about 2 more gold coins, which completes, if I'm not mistaken, our bargain. And he flicks 2 gold coins, a little bit bigger in diameter than you're used to seeing at you.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are, meeting again. And you have the desired amount of coins that I can double for you. And you have brought me 2 more coins. And he looks left and right at Tina and Ostrin. And I will add them to your deck. Are you ready to play a game, Lionel Aranay?
What is the game and what are the rules?
Oh, why not keep it the same as it was before? This way I know I'm going to win. And he waves his hand, and the flames in front of you form uh, what would be a burning dragon chess set. The coins that are in your pouch materialize before you, uh, seem to clone themselves and display themselves as the various pieces that they originally represented and form your half of the table. Dominic stands up, waves his hand, and your burning set, golden set, is matched against a dark silver set. Well, since Since you are the victor of the day, why don't you make your first move? That is, if you're still willing to play.
What is the prize if I win, Dominic?
Well,
'Cause I
based
wanted
on
to
the
say it.
agreement we had last time, you get the amount of gold coins and ounces of living metal. True living metal, not that parody you make your armor out of, but true living metal to give to your beloved sister. And just to entice you to play even harder, I'll tell you anything that you want to know. One question, no holds bar. He offers you a hand.
I look to my two siblings, and how are they reacting to all of this?
Their eyes are no longer purple. They watch you passively. If you would like to try to read their expressions, you would have to roll me an insight check.
I will try. Woof. Had to run out sometime. I think it's very fitting
What a
here.
spectacular failure.
It's a combination of the adrenaline of your old vice. Maybe you're not a gambler. Maybe you feel it, the tingle of that potential rushing back into you for this moment. And it blurs everything but Dominic standing in front of you. So you go to look at your siblings and they're there. You know they are. You know they're watching. You can feel their eyes burning into your flesh. But you don't feel it. You don't notice them. You don't notice the way they look at you.
I think, not being able to see them, I reach for his hand and I grasp it and I look at him. We are going to add one extra thing. If I win, they no longer serve you, and never again.
You will have to take that up with them. Their servitude was voluntary. However, I will not deny you what you request. Any bonds tying them to me, I will sever. If they wish to reconnect, though, I will not deny them.
Fine. But know this, you claim to not need me, but then why come back to me every single time? And I smile. I need you and you need me for something.
Dominic smiles. Go ahead.
This is a two-way street, Dominic. And you can't lie about that anymore.
You're right. I apologize for my deception. I do need you. And he grips you. And for a moment, the briefest moment, he's not Dominic Falshoburn. He is something so much more, a consciousness so vast. It's impossible for you to fully comprehend what you see in the brief second that he changes. And then it's gone.
Old one Cthulhu shit.
Please take your seat and let's begin.
I do.
Roll me a d20.
Okay. Do I add
Don't
anything to
fuck
this?
up.
+2.
Off to a great start.
Cole, roll better.
Fits with his character. Let's be honest.
Old friend, you will have to do so much better than that. Roll again.
Am I still adding +2?
Add +4. Silence from your opponent this time as you manage to take a key location in the center field. Thorn and Reginald, wherever you are no longer there, as you are
Ooh.
pulled to be witness to this duel of fates, maybe? This clash of wits? The strategic battle that you know has an immense amount of significance to your future, but have no idea how or why. You just know that whatever you're witnessing, you want Lionel to win desperately. And you're channeling all of that desperation into him right now. As Dominic leans back, he eyes the board thoughtfully before making his next move. Please roll with a +4. You're gaining ground now on the top level as well. For the first time, you see Dominic sweat. Please add inspiration to yourself if you do not have it.
I think seeing him sweat a little bit, I will try and take. I was thinking that when he said that too. I'm not gonna lie. I think I will try and press that advantage by talking to him and say, something has always bothered me about this. Why me? Yes, I was exceptionally skilled in how to craft things and get them done. I'd always wondered why you chose me. And slowly, I started to realize that maybe it wasn't so much me in itself, but me in the sense of what I could build and why. So I had to start questioning, what am I good at that no one else can really do? I can build armor. I can work with metal. I can build weapons. So, Dominic, what has you so concerned that you need a smith who is not tested but can build a parody of what you claim to be true?
In one of the most condescending manners you think you've ever experienced, Dominic rolls his eyes at you. And as he leans forward to counter a move that you played as you were speaking, he says, "You goddamn mortals. You're so self-centered. The world revolves around what you can do for other people. Or what the world can do for you. What is wrong with just existing? Life is not a question. It does not need an answer. Please roll. +4. Was the 19 your roll? It didn't badoop for me. Okay.
Yeah, it's 19. Sorry.
I rolled a nat 1, so excuse me while I narrate the hell out of this.
Go ahead.
As he's talking to you, and you can, for the first time, sense that a feeling of anger, of a rage so deep that you wonder where it sprouts from. All of his luck runs out, and he snaps the piece that he's holding, that silvery, that dark silver piece, and it scatters across the playing board, shuffling pieces but not moving them from their key locations. And he growls deep in his throat. He speaks to you in a language that you don't understand with your ears, but you get the
Nice.
meaning
Mhm.
that some things are just so ancient that they should never be caged. Someone has caged me, and you will set me free. Please roll me a perception check. And for the love of God, please roll decently.
Oh, let's
Called
see how
out.
I do on this. I mean, he's not wrong to call me out, let's be fair. I'm going to use my inspiration.
Please do.
Oh my
Roll
god.
better. Get a nat 20. Okay, that's still better than a 0.
That's a lot better, but it's still
You-
probably not enough.
You met the DC.
Oh, thank God. Oh, God.
Please roll good. Rolls a 0.
Again! Second one within like 6 rolls.
But you know what? Okay, so like table talk for a minute. I know this is taking us out of the moment for a minute, but I love when shit like this happens because it is so fucking appropriate for Lionel's character to roll this way.
Yeah.
And does it suck as a player? Yes. Is it hilarious because it is exactly what the character should be doing? Also, yes.
Yep. Exactly.
I love this kind of shit.
As you take advantage of his now forfeit turn because his piece literally broke, your body moving to almost of its own accord to trap him and force your victory. Mind you, this battle has taken probably close to 2 hours at this point.
Yeah.
But not a second has actually passed because you all are frozen in time. Reginald and Thorn frozen witnesses to a very near victory, to be honest. However, you proceed to get victory, and as you move your last piece into a checkmate, you look up into black eyes. 4 of them on a blue-skinned humanoid face. I say blue-skinned, and it's a very light blue. There's something fey about it. Something naturally unnatural. And you think you understand. You've read books about Archfey before, about how they mimic the powers of gods, about how they can't be contained, about so much about them, really. Tina would know more. She was really into that stuff. But as you blink and Dominic sits in front of you in his normal form, he leans back with a heavy sigh. The pieces on the table coalesce into a mound of gold black material. And he says, claim your goddamn victory.
I will take the living metal and put it into my bag, and I will look at him and I will simply ask one question. Why were you caged?
Why does anyone cage anything? To use it. Or to kill it. But I cannot be killed. Not by them. Only by you. But I still have work to do. And he leans forward very sharply, and his hand juts across the open flames, and he grabs you by your collar and rips you within an inch of his face.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, you will do what I need you to do. You will free the luck that this world needs. And you will set me free across the plains. Damn the devil bitch! Send her back to hell. And he's gone. Reginald Thorn, you have borne witness and heard everything that has been said. Tina and Austrian look down. They continue eating their meals quietly. In your possession, merging with the armor that maybe involuntarily started coating you as he grabbed you and ripped you towards him.
Yeah.
That living metal is merging with the metal that you have crafted.
Does it feel any different as it's merging? And I assume I can't easily stop it at this point.
It has a mind of its own, and it's integrating with what you've made, changing what you've made into it, giving you the ability to make more. If you can learn to communicate with it. If you, as an artificer extraordinaire, can learn to control it. More to follow on that.
Yeah. Okay.
However, you had a question at the beginning of this session.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, it'll depend on a few rolls.
Okay.
But I would like to allow that to happen if you can actually pass those rolls.
Okay.
No pressure or anything.
Yeah, no pressure. I know.
Looking at you, -1.
Yeah, I know.
It's not like you sound like you haven't rolled, 2 nat 1s into zeros tonight.
I imagine that'll be stuff that we do next time, though. But I think with his victory, Lionel will look to Austrian, Tina, Reginald, and Thorn. And I think with a little bit of solemnness in his face, he will say, "We'll grant the man his wish, but I will do it my way. And damn him for dragging people I care about into this. This was not their choice and not their game."
I think Thorn, as soon as she was like let loose from whatever magic had her just watching, immediately kind of like floofs out into like a sideways cat crab form. Like, what the fuck? And then immediately starts sniffing the twins' food. Just gets between them, and it's just like.
so used to dealing with the kobolds at this point, are they, that they immediately shave off a little bit and hand it to you? And
Thorn's new
uh,
favorite people.
Like I said, far too much like Austrian.
well, that was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
It's 10 o'clock and bedtime, y'all. Speaking of bedtime, not to force rail this, however, as Reginald, as I imagine that you bed down for the evening, you do have a dream. A dream about your grandfather. This dream twists and turns, and you hear your grandfather's voice. And mind you, you haven't seen your grandfather since you were very young, 18, in fact. But your grandfather is calling you and beckoning you. Now, elves dream a little bit differently, and you in particular are a very lucid dreamer. So I'm going to give you the choice on whether or not you choose to follow him or not.
If he's beckoning me, yeah, I think Reginald would follow.
Then roll me a perception check, please.
All right.
A little better than Cole.
Nat 1 -1.
Oh, jeez. Killed that. So
Listen, I get I'm bad, but fuck, don't have to rub my face in it.
you realize, as your grandfather's voice beckons to you, that he's calling you to you from the ethereal plane. He is asking you to break the gap in your mind that blocks you into the material plane. Is that something you're willing to do?
So essentially, he's asking me to like sever my connection to the material plane.
At least for the moment, maybe indefinitely. You don't know if you can get back.
Barty experience, man.
Shit. Fuck it. Yeah, I think Reginald would be inquisitive and he would want to try it. With no kind of understanding or care or thought that this could go wrong, because he supposedly trusts the person that is beckoning for him, which he doesn't even know that's the person that it is.
Just for your maybe recap, your grandfather founded the Fortino and disappeared. He went off on a grand adventure and never came back, leaving your father to take over the business, as it were. Your grandfather was an explorer, and you have just crossed into the plane of existence where he is currently studying magical phenomena, where he is creating the weave of this world, of other worlds. He explains to you the intricacies of magic and how they pertain to this plane and the next plane. He describes to you the patterns of magic and thought, and how to telekinetically speak to another human being. He describes to you all of this and so much more, literally eons of information pour into you over the matter of a few hours. But as dreams often do, you feel this one starting to come to an end as your rest cycle involuntarily begins pulling at your consciousness, pulling you back to the material plane. And for a moment, your grandfather looks at you, and there's so much worry on his face. Like, am I ever going to see you again? In this brief moment that has once again been so much longer than it actually was, you have sort of grown attached to a new mentor, somebody who's teaching you so much more. And as you wake, you feel like you can barely recall any of it. Roll me a intelligence check, please. Awesome. I'm going to save that result, and I'm going to think on it on exactly what I want you to receive for it. But DC was 15, so congrats. You will receive some sort of
Planer granddaddy.
as you wake, though, you also feel this strange urge to go there physically, to
Just die.
find somebody that you thought long dead, honestly.
Sorry,
Maybe
Phil.
you should tell your dad about this.
Christ.
Maybe you shouldn't.
I don't know. Maybe.
Either way, things to think about between now and next session. I hope you all have a wonderful evening, however I must turn in.
Good night,
Thanks,
Planer
you
daddy.
too.